Test. Test. All right, let me check. It seems like we are back again. Let me check quickly if we are live and everything is working well. Give me a moment. Okay, amazing. Everything seems to be working. I will do a quick post on X now that we are live once again on my other screen. So give me a moment for that. And then we can dive into today's data. And we can discuss today's data a little bit before it will be coming out. Today we are looking into the US labor market. So it is most definitely going to be interesting once again with the initial jobless claims coming out. But just give me a quick moment here. Um, dun, dun, dun. Give me a moment, almost done here. And then we can discuss what we have coming up here. Boom. The link. Okay. Let's dive in. I just did a quick post on X that we are live for everybody. So everybody has the chance to be joining in. Here we go. Bitcoin and Ethereum price action during the US jobs release. And that's exactly what we are looking into today with another initial jobless claims report. Pre-market is green this morning and the Thanksgiving rally still hasn't hit the brakes. How long can this momentum stretch? Interesting. Okay. Let me refresh the most important pages and I will give a quick explanation of what we have coming up here. With initial jobless claims, it's very simple how many people are going to be jobless here. The expectation today is, I'm mostly looking into the consensus, so 225k, and the previous number is 220k. So we want to see it coming in lower than 2025k here. And in the ideal scenario, we want to see it coming lower than 220k. That is going to be the most bullish scenario. But, I'm stating it totally wrong. My fault. We do want to see this in coming in higher actually. So now the market is expecting that the data is coming in higher than what we've seen the previous time. Instead of 2020k, 2025k. If we can see it coming in higher than that 2025k, then it's going to be bullish, because that means that the used labor market keeps on weakening. And I think yesterday we also saw some data coming out about the used labor market. And of course we had the PPI data, which is very important, US inflation data. US inflation did came out very neutral. So after that, rate cut odds for the 10th of December meeting started moving higher once again. But let's see how the initial jobless claims can be affecting it. I think now, because the rate cut odds are so high, the only thing really pushing the market much higher from out of this perspective is going to be a 50 BPS rate cut. As long as that's not going to be on the table, these odds can at some moment only be dropping a little bit lower by more negative data. But let's see, if the US labor market is truly weakening, we are once again going to see a higher initial jobless claim report. And then there should not be a problem. Then there should not be a problem. So let's see what the initial jobless claim is going to be looking like. Let me check the chat here. Any idea when Mr. can get above $250 by the end of the year? Let me show you an interesting chart about Mr. And then I will discuss some more charts like we also did in this morning's update video. If we go to Rover's channel, I think we dropped a chart about Mr. here. Mr. is actually at a very interesting level, a critical point. Like he stated, we've only seen Mr. reach these RSI levels 3 times during its entire history adopting the Bitcoin standard basically. We've seen during COVID, the bear market bottom, and now once again. So Mr. is clearly quite oversold. Will be bouncing back to $250. That's actually not that big of a move from here. But I think the Mr. bottom is getting much closer than most people realize. We can be dropping ever so slightly lower. Now we are also on some pivotal support here for Mr. But yeah, we can be dropping ever so slightly lower still. But I think that Mr. is now in this consolidation phase and Bitcoin is still trading far above that phase. So Mr. is front running Bitcoin, and I also think it's going to be bottoming out sooner than Bitcoin, to be completely honest. So interesting chart and possibly an interesting buy also for myself, because I'm definitely interested in accumulating some Mr. shares, because I think it could be a great moment still. But yeah, I also see the chance that we are going to drop ever so slightly lower, so I will just begin slowly DCAing into the near future at, for example, Mr. So bounce back to $250 possible, but I think now we are at a pivotal point. From here we can bounce back up a little bit. But on the other hand, the trend is down, and as long as Bitcoin will stay moving down, of course, Mr. will simply do the same, but even more aggressively. And yeah, looking at all the most important Bitcoin data, it doesn't seem like we are going to have like a new all-time highs very soon here. Of course, it's possible, but doesn't really look like it at the current moment. We do have Bitfinex long still being incredibly bullish on Bitcoin. Something we discussed this morning also. Bitfinex longs just keeps on rising here, now reaching, I think, almost the highest level of this entire bull market. We're now at the same levels as the peak during the tariffs basically, and the RSI is crazily overbought here for the Bitfinex longs. So I still think a bigger bounce for Bitcoin is going to be likely here in the near future. Just looking at the indicator, because if you overlay it with the Bitcoin chart itself, there you can see the magic comparing the Bitfinex longs with Bitcoin. That's where we see the magic, because Bitfinex longs do accumulate, or the whales are going long doing a consolidation or just a dip, a move down like we saw during the tariffs. Then eventually when they start building after long positions back to the downside, so once they start going instead of long, they start going short and the Bitfinex longs are coming down, that is indeed going to be the interesting moment where Bitcoin is usually in the reversal and Bitfinex longs are basically taking profits, or the whales are taking profits on their trades. And looking at this indicator and also this one, Bitcoin whale versus retail delta, what I find interesting is that there's a big difference between what we are seeing on the liquidation heat map and what we are seeing on the smart money charts, because clearly smart money is accumulating and long on Bitcoin, but on the other hand we do have major liquidation clusters, short liquidation clusters above us. So I think that most of this is retail money, which is shorting Bitcoin now. And we actually have smart money inflow, which is doing the exact opposite, which is usually bullish, because smart money tends to be right about where Bitcoin is going to be heading next. So yeah, let's see about exactly that. But it could get quite interesting here in the near future, I would say. Yeah, talking about Mr. Thank you. I started building my position from here. I definitely think that this is going to be an interesting point to build your position. But I would say just slowly DCA in, because we could lose this level, of course. 10 minutes before the initial jobless claims, so we are closing in here. And then let's see what the effect is going to be on the rate cut odds. Of course, we have been live streaming all of the important data lately on the channel. Just if you go to the live streams, you can see all of the data we have been live streaming with each other. So amazing. We are just going to keep our eyes on the data. And together we can create somewhat of an outlook of what we are going to think the Federal Reserve monetary policy is going to be, and what we should be doing with our altcoin positions. So it's kind of a small series basically on the channel where we can be predicting of what's going to be next for the monetary policy and how crypto is going to get affected by it, and just the markets in general. US stock market bouncing back up, which is quite interesting, I must say, after that AI bubble panic, where we saw a large drawdown. Since then we have been bouncing up, and now we are close to new all-time highs once again for the stock market. So stock market doesn't really care about what's happening here. So very interesting. Ethereum position still open, slight little loss here. I think we will be moving it back to break even in the near future, and after that I will be taking profits quite early on this trade, I think, because I think it's going to get dangerous. But let's see. I will just keep you guys up to date also on the VIP channel, and of course here on YouTube. And yeah, make sure to also claim that 50% deposit bonus and 5k generous refund on LBank. You can be claiming it with the link in the description on this live stream. I will quickly show it. There you can claim your 50% deposit bonus, $100 voucher, and earn generous refund only on your first trading position up to 5k. But it's definitely going to be a nice opportunity for your first trading position, I would say. So make sure to come and check it out if you get interested in that. Yo, long time no see, Lauren. Nice to have you back. How have you been? Hi, I expect a very bullish 2026. Yeah, me too, actually. Yeah, I think 2026 could be flipping bullish sooner than most people think. It is a midterm year, and after the 4-year cycles, usually the midterm years are not bullish. If I can show a chart about this. Midterm. Look, if you're looking into history, the midterm years are definitely not bullish. It's basically only down. But if I'm looking in this midterm year, I think it's much more comparable with... I don't really think it's comparable with the other midterm years. I think it's much more comparable with 2019, because we are probably going to get a shift into from QT to QE. QT will be ending at the 1st of December. QE is going to get started. More and more stimulation, more rate cuts. We're in the middle of an easing cycle, and that has never been the case during those midterm years. So in that aspect, it is really much different. And when there is a lot of liquidity available for when you have the perfect storm, why would there be a reason for Bitcoin not to move higher in the midterm year, besides just this chart and history? So interesting. It is going to be a very risky bet if you are going to take that, but I think 2026 we will most definitely get a lot of very good opportunities. But it's all going to depend on the rate cuts from here, monetary policy, and of course also which Fed President Trump is going to announce, which Fed chair, the next one. Yes, indeed, I seen comment coming in about this at the current moment. Very funny. It's all about liquidity. Indeed, I think the same. And next year we get a new Fed chair. And probably that's going to be an ultra dovish one, because we know that Trump wants the rates down to about 1 to 2 basis points. And that is definitely where, or percentage, I should say. And that's definitely not where we are at the current moment. We are still a little bit higher. So, yeah. It's unfortunate that this one is not loading. Let me quickly check if we can. FOMC, Fed Watch. Data in 5 minutes here. It's unfortunately not loading. Okay, then I will just keep my eyes on Polymarket. It is as important as that FOMC Fed Watch tool. But yeah, I think the choice of the new Fed chair is going to be a very important one. And yesterday I saw some reports coming out that that the most important candidate for the Fed job is now Hassett, I think. This is something I read. Kevin Hassett is now President Trump's top choice to replace Jerome Powell as the Federal Reserve Chair. This is the latest news, so let's see. But I think all of the candidates are going to be dovish. And are going to be willing to cut rates, because otherwise Trump is not going to make them Fed chair. Also, let's open the chart for Bitcoin. Not this one actually. Let's open a new 5-minute chart. Boom, boom. What is happening here? 5 minutes. There we can see how Bitcoin will be reacting on the data. Currently trading slightly below 87k Bitcoin. And we have the data dropping in 4 minutes. 4 minutes from now on. So let's see. What's your opinion on the business cycle versus the 4-year cycle? It is a good one. It is a good question. I think the 4-year cycle is not only based on the business cycle. It is based on more than that because it had been following, I think, just the Fed liquidity cycles also and a lot of other different charts. I think it's an interesting discussion, and that's why I also think that 2026 could turn out much more bullish than most people think, because indeed we have not seen a business cycle for Bitcoin this time. We have today dropping in 3 minutes, so I will be discussing this after the data, and then I will be overlaying Bitcoin with the business cycle, so everybody that does not know can look into it also. But the current business cycle is indeed looking more like what we saw in 2019, instead of what we saw during all of the post-halving years, and is definitely a big factor of the business cycle, or of the 4-year cycle, the business cycle itself. I would not say all of the 4-year cycle is built on the business cycle, but definitely a big part of it. So we will dive into that after the data. Then I can overlay Bitcoin with the business cycle, and then it's more clear, I would say. But now it's looking a lot more than 2019. So from there, we could see maybe a 5-6 month bear market, or just a weaker period for Bitcoin with mostly consolidation, not even that large drops to the downside, but mostly consolidation. And from there on, we can be moving higher so slightly. But yeah, I will do that in a moment, because in 2 minutes we have the data. Bitcoin close to 87k, like stated. I will just open my notification in a minute, and then we can see the initial jobless claims in real time. Data in 1 minute. Here we go, guys. Quickly checking my phone if I'm not missing any notifications here. Here we go. So, higher than 2025k, that is going to be our target here. That is going to be our target. Let's see, guys. Boom, it should be coming out now. There it is. US jobless claims 216k in November. Okay, so it's lower than expected. That's not particular. That's bearish actually. Lower than expected. Okay, let me see what Bitcoin is doing. I will quickly. Oh, It's coming down. I don't know what happened. Did I just like invert the colors or something? Oh, I see. What am I doing? I'm so stupid. What is going on with my chart? Okay, I must quickly post on X and then I will be coming back to the chart, but Bitcoin is dumping a little bit on the news. Okay, quick pause and then we can dive into it. This jobless claims came in at expectations. Okay. Just hit the post, but this is bearish data. I would not say it's the end of the world, but I suggest that the rate cut odds are now dropping ever so slightly. Oh no, they are the same. They are still unmatched by the data. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, I just did a quick post on X about the data, so we can discuss it now. Used initial jobless claims came in at 216k, expectation 225k, so slightly lower than expected, which means that the labor market is showing some resilience, I would say. But it's not that big of a difference, so I don't think we should panic about this data. Looking at poly market, it does not really matter at the current moment. We are still at the same rate cut expectations. Let me see if FOMC Fed Watch is loading now, so we can look into this. I think it's still not working. But poly market is still showing the same. On the 1 hourly, we're also not moving by that much. But yeah, I think we can write off the possibility of a 50 BPS rate cut, because for that the US labor market is probably too strong still. Continuing jobless claims are a little bit higher than expected, maybe. Let's jump into the data here on trading economics. Yeah, continuing jobless claims. Yeah, there was no consensus. Higher than the previous report, indeed. And initial lower than the previous report, so okay. What is Bitcoin doing on the news? I think my Bitcoin chart was doing... Oh, now it's good again. It's fine now. It was looking very weird, actually. We did have some crazy volatility here. Now back 86.6. Bitcoin doesn't really care about this data, it seems like. So I would say that's good. If the rate cut odds are going to remain unchanged here, I would say that's neutral, good for the markets. I think it's good. No signs of a recession, a very good sign. Indeed, no signs of a recession. But on the other hand, if the US labor market would be weakening even more, the chance of stimulation are going to rise. So you can give an argument for both sides. I wanted to discuss the business cycle, since that was something we talked about there. Let me overlay Bitcoin with the business cycle, and then we can discuss. Business cycle. Usually I use this one, and then I always put it on top here. Business cycle, and there we can indeed see that The business cycle usually does peak during the Bitcoin tops also, every single time basically. Let's talk about them. Okay, we have seen this peak, or this one. So let me zoom a little bit in so we can discuss these ones. And we can compare it with 2019. Since the question here is Bitcoin really moving as in a 4-year cycle, or is it just following the business cycle? And there are arguments for both sides, I think. But yeah, looking at the business cycle now, it is definitely completely different than what we saw before. It is completely different. Since we've not seen any spike, that is probably also a big reason we've not seen true euphoria like we saw in this stage of the market and like we saw here in this stage of the market. That is going to be a big reason we haven't seen any euphoria, so that would explain exactly that, what we saw this cycle. Still Bitcoin coming down now, by the way, also following the used business cycle, I must say, which is actually quite interesting there. Now the used business cycle is seeing somewhat of an uptick, but doesn't matter that much. But I think this chart gets even more interesting to also explain it a little bit if you overlay it with the balance sheet. Or wait, we should overlay it first maybe with altcoins. Total 3, yes. I think that is an even more interesting one. Okay, and then we put this here. Then we overlay it with altcoins. So this is the total 3 market cap. So basically all the altcoins besides Bitcoin and Ethereum. Also with stable coins excluded. So I think it's a better representation of the altcoins market cap. And then we have seen indeed altcoins do follow in these phases where the US business cycle peaks. We see those altcoin seasons also. That is of course a big difference as what we have seen. We've not seen a true altcoin season. Altcoins are or have been lagging with Bitcoin quite massively, definitely in the later stage of the cycle, where most people were expecting it to catch up. So maybe also this entire move up here has been just somewhat of a catch-up move, and also people expecting that at some point altcoins would be catching up, but still it hasn't happened yet. Here we just saw one major move higher following that US business cycle, but we haven't seen that so far. And the only other time we topped without euphoria, like I was talking about earlier, so which I was circling here in the blue, the only time where we did top without any euphoria for Bitcoin in the crypto markets was here in 2019. And then you can see that it is looking similar as what we see with the US business cycle now. Not exactly the levels where we're trading at, but it is similar in case that the US business cycle was basically flat for that entire move to the top side. For Bitcoin in 2019, it was flat. And also we moved without altcoins. That is also what happened for this cycle. Bitcoin moved with a flat US business cycle, but the altcoins did lag behind, exactly like we saw in 2019, which I find very interesting. And then, I don't want to make it too complicated, but if you overlay it with the, with the Fed balance sheet to see when we were in periods of QT or in QE, there we can see that in 2019, after that, Bitcoin topped before QT ended. That was exactly this moment. Here, Bitcoin did top before QT ended. Maybe it's not that well visible anymore, but I will try to make it as clear as possible. We topped before that. Now QT will be ending at the 1st of December here. We topped before QT once again. Very similar also. And then we saw a bigger drop. Then we saw COVID. That is, of course, something which does not have to happen, but it was of course a good reason to unleash major QE. So maybe we have another black swan event, so we drop a little bit lower, then we have a crazy drop a little bit lower, we have a crazy black swan event, and then we move higher. Of course, not this aggressively probably, but for example, a move towards 35k or something like that. And then we move higher once again. There is a possibility that then QE could be getting started after QE ending here. And then we have a very similar scenario where also the US business cycle could be following once again. So if you're talking about the US business cycle, the Fed balance sheet, and also the performance of altcoins, it is looking much more like 2019 and the aftermath of that, instead of your normal midterm year after the post-halving year, I would say. So very interesting. Actually, I see Bitcoin is coming back up here, if I'm right. Let me check Bitcoin on the 5-minute chart. So what do you guys think? This is what I see on the chart now. Do you guys have some other perspectives? And yeah, that is also why I think the Federal Reserve monetary policy is so extremely important. Bitcoin weekly candle flipped bullish, by the way. Yeah, Bitcoin's coming up here. Pumping back up. Let me check the news. What do you guys think about the business cycle? Does it indeed look more like Grayscale fights for a Zcash ETF? Interesting. Does it indeed look more like 2019? Or do you think it's just history is exactly repeating once again and it's all going to move according to the 4-year cycle? Which is also an argument. What do you guys think? But yeah, that's what I'm seeing for Bitcoin. And because of that monetary policy, the change we are going to have, QT ending, QE starting, I think it's basically one of the biggest liquidity shifts markets can be seeing. So that is why I think it's massive. And we have been through such a long period of QT here. And yeah, there's never been a Bitcoin cycle, but always just a business cycle. Yeah, I don't know about that. Because first of all, I think the balance sheet is more important than the business cycle itself. But I do understand that people are pointing to the business cycle like it's a very important indicator, and it most definitely is. We will get another longer cycle this time. This was just another correction. Yeah, I would say I would not be surprised if there is more consolidation, like we also saw in 2019. And then if 2019 is repeating, then we should be bouncing from off the levels where we are currently have been bouncing from, just on the 50 weekly moving average, indeed. But yeah, let's see. Let's see. On the other hand, I must also acknowledge that for now everything is still going according to the 4-year cycle. So yeah, for now everything is still going according to the 4-year cycle. Ethereum trade coming back up here. I will keep my eyes on it, because if this is going to flip in a bigger, or if once this is going to move even higher, I will at some moment be taking some profits on my Ethereum trading position actually. And then we'll be keeping you guys up to date also, just watching into it. And if you do want to join with my Ethereum position or another position, Bitcoin, altcoins, a lot on Lbank here, make sure to come over to that link in the description of this live stream, where you can be claiming that 50% deposit bonus up to 2.5k, a $100 voucher, and a 5k generous refund. Make sure check it out if you're getting interested in that. Generous refund only available for your first trading position, of course. But yeah, if it is your first position, I would say it's nice to try it out. Make sure to check it there with the link in the description on the live stream. Let's see, what more can we discuss for today's stream? Maybe we should already do an overview of what's going to be happening next here. Okay, so we just saw initial jobless claims. Today, not any more data will be dropping. Tomorrow Thanksgiving, Friday early market close also because of Thanksgiving. So this week is going to be a bit of a quiet one. Maybe at the end of the week we have the meeting between Trump and Zelensky for a potential US-Ukraine ceasefire deal. But tomorrow I was doing some research into it, and what we can clearly see now is that the market is not expecting a ceasefire yet here. So the chances have been moving up ever so slightly, or the ceasefire for 2025 indeed. But yeah, market is not pricing it in to make this deal happen fast here in 2025. So I'm still a bit skeptic about it, to be honest. So maybe we have that happening on Friday, I would say. Monday, we have the ISM manufacturing PMI, which is interesting data. ISM manufacturing employment. So some info about the US business cycle, like we were just discussing also. I want all of these. ISM services PMI on Wednesday, core PCE on Friday. We don't have that much data anymore before the FOMC meeting, so I think these rate cut odds are going to be it for now. Only the Fed official speeches can be changing the odds here. So maybe it gives Bitcoin a little bit of certainty, and we can be slowly trending higher here in the next few days, almost here, or 2 weeks actually. In 2 weeks we have the FOMC. Still a lot of liquidity above Bitcoin, which makes it so interesting that we could see somewhat of a short squeeze still. I think it could happen. Somewhat of a relief rally for Bitcoin. I just talked about after data, Bitfinex longs are about to reach record highs at the moment, so that looks absolutely amazing. Will versus retail delta looks good. Bitcoin very oversold, moving out of a zone like this. It's always going to be a good recipe. Coinbase Premium Index is slowly cooling off here, cooling down. US selling is cooling down, which is also looking very good. Yeah, just a lot of signals, guys, in my opinion. BlackRock ETF turned positive today again. Also very good. Just a lot of signals, in my opinion, that we are slowly flipping bullish once again. Slowly flipping bullish. And yeah, that was basically it for today, I think. We discussed all of the most important stuff. Make sure to come over, claim your bonus on our bank, 50% deposit bonus up to 2.5k, 5k challenge refund, total 7.5k. Make sure to check it out if you get any interest in that. I don't see any questions coming in anymore. Do I have more to discuss? I think we also discussed a lot in this morning's update video. Yeah, make sure to just check out the links. Thanks, Goose. No problem once again. And I will be back with the next important data tomorrow's morning's update video, of course. I'll just keep you guys up to date. And if there's something really important going to happen regarding Russia-Ukraine ceasefire, I will be tuning in also. I will be tuning in once again. So, okay, guys. Thanks all for watching. I wish all of you guys an amazing afternoon, morning, evening. Really depends on where you're based, what your time zone is going to be. And thanks you all for watching. Thanks for the support on the channel. And I will see you guys later.